So I got a solo ride down south this weekend. So we're all packed up and ready to go. We got the drone, the sleeping bag, and some clean pants. So I'll just get my gear on and let's go. So thanks again for joining me at Handlebars and Holidays. I'm about an hour into the trip now. I've spared you the bit of going through the metro area and all the traffic and such like. So I'm probably about an hour and 20 minutes actually into the trip now. Just gone through, done a tiny little stretch on the freeway, then down a few main roads to a town called Byford. And I've just gone through Byford and switched all the cameras on and everything, so I'm hopeful that we've got all three cameras. You should be getting a little bit of variety, and hopefully we're now away from the traffic pretty much for the rest of the day. So we're going to be going through some nice little towns on the way down. This is a way that we've been a few times before, and some nice little country towns. These are actually some of the roads that we drove through in our multi-van camping video that was a few months back. We no longer own that vehicle, but we had particularly crappy weather. And I'm hoping to, Serpentine Dam. Let's go and have a look at Serpentine Dam. We've got a bit of time. Let's see what we can see down here. I suppose this is what it's all about, isn't it? Impulsive stuff. I don't know how far down here it is, mind. Lovely when you get out into the countryside. I had a bit of a panic, sort of last minute panic with getting a new phone holder for the bike. Ready and on in time for this trip, because I discovered recently that the vibrations through the bike had damaged the camera in my iPhone. Fortunately it was under warranty, and Apple kindly enough just gave me a new phone, which was good. But it was the phone mount on the handlebars that had actually allowed the vibration through that had caused the damage. Apple pretty much know that, but they still were willing to give me a new phone, which is good. So I've had to get a different mount, a quad lock mount with wireless charging. It was something I wanted, and only just managed to get one in time to get it on, you know, in time for today. But it seems to work well. Just clip your phone on, it's charged, I can run Waze. I don't know whether you can make it out there on the bars, but there it is. And yeah, seems to work well. I've got a learner. Cafe on the dam. Let's carry on down here, because Waze is telling me that the dam is actually down here. I don't know whether that would be right. We just want a little bit of a photo opportunity. Not bothered about cafes. looks like you can actually drive across the dam. Big dam. Damn, that's a big dam. Temperature today is just about perfect. I think we're on about 21, 22 degrees at the minute. There you go. I don't know whether that water level would be high or low or what at the moment. I've also just realised I've left the ignition on the bike as well. That's actually something you've got to be a little bit careful of with the rocket. I think it's probably all triumphs, to be honest, but you do need that second press of the big red switch to turn the ignition off. I talked about pressing the lock button, but as you can see there, my daytime runners are still on because I didn't lock it and the ignition's still on, so I needed to push that to turn everything off, and I forgotten. Silly boy. Okay, so we will head back to the main road. Looks like we might have lost some signal. Let's get cracking anyway. Okay, well that was a little bit different. I think we have been to this dam once before, but it's a long time ago. I remember that bit there. I seem to remember whether we walked out to that bit. Anyway. It's funny, isn't it? I was just beginning to think I'd taken a wrong turning and I was on the wrong road, so I just stopped and checked it out on the nav, and the turning's literally just around this next corner. There it is. That's a bit like when you ask in the shop, excuse me, can you tell me where this such and such a thing are, and they go, yes sir, you're standing right next to them. Okay, so we're back on the southwestern highway. Next major town, Pinjarra. I think we may well just cruise through Pinjarra and head on to Harvey. A few little towns in between. But I think Harvey might be a nice lunch stop. Oh, it turns out I also need to correct myself as well. One of my subscribers very kindly pointed out that in my last video, the 1 month of ownership, I mentioned that the comfort version of the pillion seat probably wasn't worth bothering with. Well, it turns out that the Rocket 3 GT, as opposed to the R, already has the comfort seat. So when I was comparing them and saying it didn't look much different, that's because we already had it. So there you go. Wrong again. Oh, some interesting little cars here. Hot rod, hot rod. roads that the cruise control is really handy. You can rest your hands, no strain, a bit less stress, not worried about accidentally speeding. It's useful. Just about to come into Pinjarra now. I think perhaps I'll just pull in somewhere for a second in Pinjarra and just check that I haven't got a juicy big fly squashed on the lens of the camera or anything. It's happened before. Hello. There we are. Welcome to Pinjarra. I have kind of christened the rocket Elton, which might seem a bit corny, but I suppose at the end of the day Elton was the original rocket man, was he not? So there you go, Elton it is. Oh, I forgot to wipe my visor. I've just cleaned the flies off the old lens on the camera. Forgot to clean them off my visor. Never mind. Okay, so we're just coming into Waroona now. Waroona had some huge fires here that swept through the town. Lots of homes were lost. It's probably it feels like about 18 months, so it's probably 2.5, 3 years ago realistically, but they recovered well. Homes were definitely lost. I don't know about lives, to be honest. I can't remember, but it was quite a big thing at the time. So we're about 20 minutes about 20 minutes away from Harvey now. Typical little sort of country town, Waroona. They're all very much the same in WA. Just a little central road that's basically on the main drag from A to B. And then all the residential stuff is in the little side streets. Little flies around today, which is a bit unusual because it's not particularly warm. 22 degrees at the minute. Okay, so just coming into Harvey now. hoping to find a nice little cafe or something. There's one there. I don't know what that's going to be like, but I want somewhere that I can park the bike right by where I'm sat, ideally, because of all the cameras and crap on the bike. So here we are in Harvey. Actually stumbled on a nice, you can see the gardens at the back of me there. Stumbled on a nice little cafe. I managed to find a nice little spot here, I think. The bike just up there where I can sort of keep half an eye on it from where I'm sitting. But quite a nice little spot. Lovely. So just had a very nice little lunch, BLT and a few chips, and very good. It was too. Just enough. So heading towards the Ferguson Valley now. I'm not really quite sure of the best direction to sort of go into it and through it from, so I guess we just make it up as we go along. Drive, Ferguson Valley, 400 metres. Let's do that. That's what it's all about. It's nice to get out into the country and just be able to have a bit of a ride without too much of a time constraint, and you know, just have a bit of a wander for a change. Feels like we've all got very structured lives that you have to be in a certain place at a certain time, and it sort of stops you doing a lot of things. There's many a time when I'd like to do nothing better than just, nothing more should I say, than just get on the bike and clear off and not know when I'll be back. Might be a day or two, might be a week or two. Just be nice to be able to just wander. That's perhaps a retirement thing. Okay, so let's see what we can see from a little bit higher up. So off we go. So that was very nice. Little play with the drone in a nice area. Hopefully got some decent shots of the Ferguson Valley. So we're now heading to Dardanup, continuing through the Ferguson Valley. About 6 minutes away from Dardanup, and then we'll have a little assessment of how long it's going to take us to get the rest of the way. See where we're up to on our bit of a schedule. It's exactly 2 o'clock now, and I left at almost exactly 9 o'clock. So we've been going 5 hours on and off. I'm just doing some editing on the computer, and Sid's come in, and look where he's positioned himself. What a weirdo. Somebody having a bit of a stretch there. So not long to my quick shifter and panniers arriving, hopefully. It's the, what is it today, the 7th of November today, and they are destined to arrive on the 19th or thereabouts. Quite looking forward to that. I've heard nothing bad about the quick shifter. Everybody seems to think that they're very good. There's a certain percentage of people that have said that it's not necessary. The gearbox is more than smooth enough, and I would agree, to be honest. I would think it's not necessary. I'd already organised and paid for it before I found out how smooth the gearbox was, so it's a given. But yeah, it'd be interesting. It'll be nice to be able to downshift without the clutch. I've never done that before. I'm hoping the microphone isn't picking up too much of this wind noise. Fingers crossed you can hear me okay. Bum 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 bum. Talk about it, talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, you can't buy this sort of entertainment. Dunsborough, Margaret River, straight on. Okay. So this is Caves Road, which takes you right into Dunsborough. Last time we came down Caves Road a few weeks ago, it was absolutely leathering it down. A little bit nicer today, although it looks a bit dodgy. So by the looks of things, I'm going to be arriving about 11 minutes past 3, which basically means from leaving home it's been 6 hours and 11 minutes. Obviously there's been stops. The longest I was stopped for lunch was about half an hour, half a dozen probably other little off the bikes. I was playing with the drone for about 30 minutes. A couple of little stops here and there just to wipe cameras and things like that. But essentially I've been riding on and off for 6 hours, and absolutely comfy, you know. I could just carry on. I don't think I've definitely never ridden a bike for 6 hours in a day and not been knackered, and I'm not knackered at all. So I think I've got to hold my hand up to triumph once again. The seat still feels pretty comfy. Probably only been on it for I don't know, an hour at the most in one go, but with the FJR, we had an FJR 1300. I had a custom seat made. We had air hawk seat pads, and we had sheepskin covers over the top of them, and we still couldn't do more than an hour and a half or so, an hour to an hour and a half, before you got a sore bum and you wanted to get off. But the thing was, if you got off for half an hour and then you got back on, within about 10 or 15 minutes you had a sore bum again. Where that's not happened today. Every time I've got on, I've done another 40 minutes or an hour or whatever, and hopped off again with no detrimental feelings at all. So yeah, got to give it to Triumph. They seem to have got an awful lot of things right with this bike. Two-up perspective. We had our first two-up ride a little while back, a few weeks ago, which I did a previous vlog on, and we said it was pretty comfy. Since then we've had another two-up ride, which was a bit longer. It was about an hour and a half each way, and Angie decided that was the absolute maximum. That was a little bit too long. So from a pillion point of view, I don't think, you know, when you look at the rear seat, it's too narrow. It's nice and padded, but it's too narrow compared to the rider's seat. Pillion seats, a bit of an afterthought. And they don't do a pillion seat which is more dished, shall we say, to cup your buttocks in a loving way. So I think as a long distance two-up bike, it's probably not, you know, you can't compare it with a Goldwing or anything like that, obviously. But primarily, at the end of the day, I suppose it's mainly a solo bike, which is fine. We'll do the odd hour here and there as a two-up. That's probably about it. So we're basically arriving in Dunsborough now. This is Dunsborough Coast, which is absolutely lovely. There is a sandbar at Dunsborough, which John has told me all about. Incidentally, one of the Beatles, oh gosh, can't remember his name. One of the Beatles lives down here. Can't remember. I'll have to add that in on the way back. John will tell me. But yeah, there's a sandbar out here, and apparently when the tide's right, you can walk out for miles in little more than ankle deep, which would be quite nice. The water here is crystal clear. Sure it's one of the Beatles, and I can't remember. Is it one of the Beatles? Somebody very famous. I'll find out. So this is the sandbar that I was talking about on the way down. It's morning now, and we came down here last night. Forgot to take any photos, and the tide was all the way in. Now it's all the way out. Dogs love it, don't they? Okay, so good morning, people. 'Tis the following day. Had a nice little stroll down the beach this morning and had a look at the sandbar, and basically off back home now with maybe a little bit of a stopover on the way. We've got 15.5 degrees at the moment, so a little bit on the chilly side, but fine, and it's obviously just going to get a bit warmer. It's 10 AM, so setting off an hour later than yesterday. So my friend John has been telling me about a place in Dardanup, I think it's called, that has a heritage centre there / museum, which apparently is really good, and it's basically on the way home. So I thought we might have a look, and if I can park the bike somewhere safe or get my stuff off the bike, might have a wander around there. It could well be very interesting by the sounds of things. I've just noticed something that I've never spotted before. Waze has just said earlier, Waze said estimated time in traffic 7 minutes because of this roadworks. Obviously the speed's reduced, but I've just noticed on the side, if you can see that there, on the side of the graphic there is another little slidey, which must be representing the time in traffic. It says there's 2 minutes left. That's kind of cool, I've never noticed that before. Maybe that's a new feature. So Dunsborough, the town I stayed in last night at John's place, is a lovely little town. We had a nice little walk down the beach last night, and then another quick one this morning, and we had a walk around the town and got a takeaway Thai, which was very nice. But it is a lovely little town. It's very much got a sort of a seaside holiday kind of feel, and to have the such a lovely beach basically at the bottom of your street is smashing. Dardanup Heritage Park. So this is the Heritage Park at Dardanup, and I've said I can stick my bags inside and go and have a nice little look round. How cool are they? Very good.